Welcome pre-cal students to the homework help video, page 464. Let's go ahead and get started with the assignment. Numbers 1 through 7, we are going to type these into our calculator, so let's hope that you guys know how to do that. For number 1 here, let me get my calculator ready here. For number 1, you would type into your screen, you would type in parentheses, just like it is, 3.4, then hit the arrow button, which is right here. Okay, and then you can put parentheses if you want, but it really is just one number, so I would just put 5.6. So let me do that real quick on my calculator. 3.4 to the 5.6 power, and the answer is 946.852. Okay, 946.852, and that does match the back of the book, and I did round that number. Okay, alright, moving on to number 3. Okay, we would type into our calculator 1.05 and then arrow and then 400. Okay, and the arrow button again is right here. Let me grab my calculator. 1.005 to the 400th power, and that would be 7.352 if you round to 3 decimal places. So 7.352. Okay, moving on to number 5. Number 5, now be really careful on number 5. You want to type the base in first. So 5, then your arrow button. And then because it's negative pi, I would use parentheses. I really would. Negative, and then pi. Now if you don't know where pi is, look carefully. It's right here, right above the arrow button. So you'd want to hit shift or second key, whatever you want to call it, and then the arrow key, and pi will pop up. Okay, so hit 5, then arrow, then parentheses, then a negative sign, then second, and then arrow, and pi will pop up, and then close the parentheses. Okay, let me see here. 5, let me get mine typed in here. It's the wrong button. Hold on one second. Negative pi, and the answer should be 0.00636979292. So if you round that to 3 decimal places, you will get 0.006. Okay, and then lastly, number 7, 100, then hit arrow, and now here's where it gets interesting. Okay, then I would hit parentheses just to make sure. Okay, then hit square root, so you'd want to hit second, and then this button here, x squared, and then when you do that, a square root will pop up like this, and then type in 2, and then close the parentheses. Okay, let me do that real quick. 100 arrow, square root of 2, and you should get 673.639. Okay, and that is the answer in the back of the book. I'm checking these as we go to make sure they match the back of the book. Okay, and so far they have. So there we go. Moving on to numbers 9, 11, and 13. Okay, now on number 9 here, notice they've given us 2 functions to graph. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to graph each of these functions on 2 separate coordinate planes. Okay, and then we're going to kind of look and see what the difference is between them, how they shifted and how they moved. Okay, so let's start with this one right here. Okay, this one right here, f of x equals 3 to the x plus 0. There's no constant term, so my horizontal asymptote will be at 0 right here. Okay, very good. Now take the exponent, which is x, set it equal to 0 and solve. Well, x equals 0. There's really nothing to solve, so we'll leave it at 0. And right here in the middle, we'll put a 0, then we'll go up 1, 2, and then we'll go down -1, -2. Now, here's how you would type this into your calculator. And don't forget, students, again, go ahead and push the window button. And when you push the window button, hit the zoom button. Sorry, not this. Hit the zoom button, and then hit 6, Z standard. And when you do that, that will make your coordinate plane be 10 to the right, 10 to the left, 10 up, and 10 down. Okay, now let's go ahead and hit y equals. Okay, and then type this into your calculator. y subscript 1 equals 3 arrow x. Okay, and if you type that in correctly and use these numbers here for your table of values, you will get out a 9 here, a 3 here, a 1 here, a 0.33 here, and a 0.11 here. Okay, so there we go. We're going to do these pretty quickly. If I go too fast, just pause the video, I guess. And let's go ahead and plot these points. So here we go. We have 2, 9, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 2, 9 is about here. And 1, 3. And then 0, 1. And then negative 1.3. And then negative 2.1. So you can see the form that's taking here. It's going to curve up. It's going to shoot up quickly here, guys. Like that. It's going to bottom out quickly, but it will not cross the asymptote. So there's a good picture of the graph, okay? Let me go ahead and highlight the points. So we got a point here, point here, point here, point here, and a point here, okay? All right, now let's go ahead and graph the other function. So the other function would be right here, 3x minus 4 plus 0. There's no constant terms. Let's put plus 0. So my horizontal asymptote will be at 0 right here. Okay? And take your exponent, set it equal to 0 and solve. So here's your exponent, x minus 4, set it equal to 0 and solve. So there's your middle value for your table of values. 4 will go right in the middle. So we have 6, 5, 4 goes in the middle, then 3, and then 2, okay? Here's how you would type this right here into your calculator. You would type, hit y equals button, and then you would type in 3 arrow parentheses x minus 4, okay? And if you type that in correctly, what you will get out for your table of values will be 9, 3, 1, 1/3, 1/9. So 0.3, 3, and 0.11. Okay, so let's take this over to the other page here real quick so we can use that. There we go. And here we go. Let's plot those points. So 6, 9, 1, 2, 3, 6, right here. And then 5, 3, right here, and then 4, 1, and then 3.3, and then right here. So here we go. It's going to go like this. It's going to shoot upward to this right here and keep going onward. So there we go. Now they want us to state what happened to these two graphs. Like, what's the difference when you compare this 3 to the x to 3 to the x minus 4. Well, it's obvious what happened. This entire graph here, students, shifted to the right 4 units. Look, guys, this point here that was at 2, 9 is now at 6, 9. So this point here went over 4 units. This point here that was at 3, 1, 3 went over 4 units to 5, 3. Okay, this went over 1, 2, 3, 4 to here. This one went over 1, 2, 3, 4 to here. This point went over 1, 2, 3, 4 to here. This point went over 4. And this point here went over 4. So the blue graph is really the red graph, only it shifted 4 units to the right. Okay, so that's what they were trying to show us, is how we could look at these graphs and kind of figure out what they're doing by shifts and stuff like that, okay? All right, number 11. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and start off with our first one here. Here's our first function, negative 2 to the x plus 0. There's no constant term, so plus 0. So we have a horizontal asymptote at 0. So there we go. Okay. Now, let's take the exponent and set it equal to 0. There we go, nothing to solve, so 0 goes in the middle. So we'll start with 2, 1, 0, -1, -2. Now, here's how you would type this into your calculator. You would hit you would hit y equals, like always, and then type in. Now be careful. Do not put this. Do not put -2 in parentheses. Okay, that's not what we have here. Now, if the problem is written like this, then that's fine. But it's not, okay? Alright, so just type -2, the arrow, and then it's just x. So if you want to put parentheses, fine. You don't have to. It's up to you, okay? Either way will work. However, if you type that in your calculator correctly, and then go to your table over here, hit second, and then graph for your table, you will see that for your table here, you should get, let me look at my notes here, you should get a -4 here, a -2 here, a -1 here, a -0.5 here, and a -0.25 here. Okay, so here we go. Let's grab this and drag this over to the other page real quick. And let's plot these points. So here we go. 2, -4, 1, -2, 0, -1, -1.5, and then -2 1/4. So there we go. Pretty good picture of the graph. It's going to curve down like this. Up here, it's going to get closer and closer to the horizontal asymptote, but it will never touch it. There we go. Okay, now let's go ahead and graph the other function. And here we go. Okay, the other function is 5 minus 2 to the x power. Now we do have a constant term. Here's the constant term, 5. So we know we're going to have a horizontal asymptote at 5, okay? So here we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's our horizontal asymptote. Remember, students, the horizontal asymptote is always at the constant term, whatever the constant term is, okay? And in this problem here, the constant term is 5, okay? Now take your exponent, which is x, that is equal to 0, and solve. Nothing really to solve. So 0 will go in the middle. So we have 2, 1, 0, -1, -2. And let's drag that over. Well, let's fill it in first. So on your calculator here, if you'll push y equals and then type in 5 minus 2, just like that, then arrow and then x, parentheses or not, it doesn't matter, and then hit second to graph, your table will pop up. And your table should look like this: 1, 3, 4, 4.5 or 4.5 if you will, and then 4 3/4 or 4.75. Okay, so there we go. Let's go ahead and grab this, drag it over yonder here, and here we go. 2, 1, 1, 3, 0, 4, -1, 4.5, -2, 4.75. So here's the graph. There we go. And hopefully you can see what happened here, okay? We have this graph here was -2 to the x. This graph over here was 5, -2 to the x power. Now, what this did, by putting a +5 with this function over here compared to this one, it moved this entire graph up 5 units. Okay, so there we go. Look, guys, this point here went up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right here. Okay, this point here went up 5 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right there. So all of these points here were shifted up 5 units, okay? All right, moving on to number 13. Okay, here we go. Now, by there not being a negative sign here, and by there being a negative sign here, and by there not being a +4 here, and a +4 over here, what's probably going to happen is from this graph here to this graph here, this was going to be flipped and also shifted 4 to the left. Even though it's a +4, it'll be shifted 4 to the left. Remember that happened up here, guys. We had a -4 here, but the graph was shifted 4 units to the right. Okay? Let's see what happens, okay? Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. Okay, let's go ahead and take this graph here. 3 to the 5th power, 3/5 to the x power, plus 0. So my horizontal asymptote will be a 0. Okay? There we go. Pretty simple. Next, take the exponent and set the exponent equal to 0. So we did that. And then I'll put 0 in the middle of your table of values. So we have 2, 1, 0, -1, -2. Alright? Now, here's how you type this into your calculator. And please take some really good notes on this, students, okay? First, you would hit y equals, of course. And then you would put 3/5 in parentheses. So hit parentheses, then 3, then hit divided by, okay? And this will pop up. And then 5, and then close the parentheses. Then hit arrow for your exponent, and then hit x. Now you can put parentheses if you want around the x, but you don't have to. You can just put x if you want to. Okay, totally up to you. So if you do that carefully, then hit second, and then graph, your table of values will pop up. Okay, so here's what you should get for your table of values here for 13. You should get 9. Well, let me get to in decimal form here. 0.36 here, and then for 1 it would be 0.6, and then 1 here, and then 1.66 repeating, and then 2.7 repeating, so 2.77. Okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and pull this over. Hopefully you guys are getting these right on your calculators. Okay, here we go. Over 2, end up 0.36. Over 1, 0.6. 0's at 1. -1 is at 1.6. And -2 is at 2.7. So it's a real gradual curve, guys. It looks like a straight line, but we know it's not. You know for sure, students, this is not a straight line, okay? Because exponential graphs always have a curve to them, okay? This is going to be a real gradual curve. But nonetheless, it is a curve, okay? So that's good enough, okay? All right, there we go. Now let's go ahead and try the next function here. Okay, here we go. We have negative, in parentheses, 3/5, then x plus 4. And I'm going to go ahead and put plus 0 for my constant term, okay? So I have a horizontal asymptote at 0 here. Okay, students, there we go. Pretty simple, okay? Now, let's go ahead and take the exponent here and set it equal to 0 and solve so that we can find our middle value. Bring the 4 over and make it a -4. So here's our table of values. -2, -3, -4 is in the middle, -5, -6, okay? Now, here's how you would type this function into your calculator. You would hit y equals like usual, and then type in a negative sign, then parentheses, then 3, then divided by, then 5 here, and then close the parentheses. Then you have an exponent next. So arrow and then parentheses, x plus 4. Now here, students, the parentheses around the x plus 4 is mandatory because you have two terms in your exponent. Okay, so make sure you put the parentheses there. Then hit second graph, and your table of values should pop up. Okay. Now let's see what happens here. We should have negative 2 would be negative 0.36. Negative 3 is negative 0.6. Negative 4 is negative 1. Negative 5 is negative 1.7. And negative 6 would be negative 2.8. Let's go ahead and pull this over here. And here we go. Negative 2, negative 0.3. Negative 3, negative 0.6. Negative 4, negative 1. Negative 5, negative 1.7. Negative 6, negative 2.8. So there we go. Let's go ahead and highlight our points here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Over here we have, let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 right there. Okay, students, so let's compare these two graphs, okay? Notice that this point here, right here, is this point right here. So it was shifted 4 points to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then flipped down to here. If I can get my pen to work here, there we go, over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, then flipped down to here, which is this point here. This point here shifted 4 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then flipped down about here. Okay, this point here shifted 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then flipped to here, which is this point here. Okay, and so on and so forth. So what we can learn is this: because we added 4 to the exponent, then the graph will move 4 units to the left. Okay? And because we applied a negative sign out here, outside the base, we can see that caused the graph to flip or to rotate around the what? The x-axis. Okay, so that's all they're trying to teach you there, okay? All right, moving on to a couple more graphing problems. Okay, let's graph this one and this one, okay? So here we go, number 25. Okay, here we go, pretty simple. Step 1, we notice there's no constant term, so I'm going to put plus 0 and then put my horizontal asymptote right here, okay? There we go. All right, next, I'm going to take my exponent, set it equal to 0. Here's my exponent right here. Set it equal to 0 and solve. That'll give me a nice middle value to use. So my middle value on my x values will be 1. So we'll put a 3 here, 2 here, 1 in the middle, 0, negative 1. Now, in your calculator over here, hit y equals, then type in 2, then arrow, then parentheses, x minus 1. Okay, then hit second, and then table should pop up, and your table of values should look like this. 4 here, 2 here, 1 here, 0.5 here, and a 0.25 here, okay? So with that in mind, here's the graph. Over 3, up 4, over 2, up 2, over 1, up 1, over 0, up a half, over negative 1.25. So there we go. These are really, really simple to do, students, if you use the 4 steps that I've given you, okay? Pretty simple. Okay, there we go. Okay, moving on to number 27. Okay, let's go ahead, and first of all, we notice we do have a constant term right here. And our constant term is positive 3, so we'll come down here and put a horizontal asymptote at positive 3. Okay, there we go. Now next, we'll take the exponent, x minus 3, so that equal to 0. Bring the 3 over, make it positive, so x equals 3. So my table of values will have 3 in the middle. Okay, so 3 here in the middle. So we'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, over here in your calculator, you want to go ahead and hit y equals, and then type in 4 for this 4 here, then arrow, then parentheses, and then your exponent, x minus 3. Then close your parentheses, and then plus 3. Okay? Then hit second graph, and your table should pop up. And your table will be 19, 7, 4 here, 3.25 here, and 3.06 here. Okay, getting closer and closer to 3, like it's supposed to. Okay, over 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, way up here to 19 somewhere, not a big deal, not worried about that point. Over 4, up 7, 5, 6, 7 right here. Over 3, up 4, over 2, up 3 1/4, and then here. So the graph's going to shoot up really quick, okay, which a lot of them will do sometimes. Okay. And then bottom out kind of quickly here, okay? But it will not cross that asymptote. Okay, so there we go. Not too difficult, okay? Pretty simple. Okay, moving on to these here. Okay, here we go, students. E to the 1/2. Now, here's what you want to type in first. Your E is right here. Okay, so right above your ln or your natural log button. But it's the yellow one here. So you want to hit second or shift, as some students call it. And then this button here. And when you do that, what's going to pop up is this. E with an arrow. Now, some of the more recent TI graphers have an E that pops up, and then the cursor is up here, which is the same thing. So you'd go ahead and type in 1. I'd put a parenthesis if I were you. And 1 divided by 2. Okay, for those that have an arrow pop up here, you hit parentheses, and then 1 divided by 2, and then close your parentheses. If you don't do that, students, if you type this, E, the arrow, and then you hit 1 divided by 2, here's what it thinks you mean. It thinks you mean E to the 1 power divided by 2, which is really what you told it, because you're saying the exponent is 1. So, either use a parenthesis for 1/2 like this, or just simply put 0.5. Okay? Either way, you will get the correct answer. Let me look in the back of the book here and make sure my answer is correct here. Hold on 1 second so I can find my place. Let's see, number 43. Okay, here we go. I'm going to type it in my calculator right now. E to the 1/2 power. I'm getting this. 1.6487, so 1.649 rounded. And that matches the back of the book, okay? So moving on to number 45. Number 45. Okay, here we go. Type in, hit a second, and this button here, and your E will pop up, and your arrow, and put -3 divided by 4. Okay, or you can put E arrow and then -0.75 if you want to. Either way, what you should get is this. I'm getting out 0.472 rounded, and that is the correct answer. Okay. All right, moving on to number 47 here. Number 47. Okay, we're going to type in 40 first, hit 40, 40, and then hit second, and then this button here, and your E will pop up with an arrow in a parentheses, and then type in 0.012 and close the parentheses. Okay, let me do that real quick here. 40 second E, 0.012, enter, and I'm getting this 40.483. And I think that's the right answer. Yes, it is. Very good. And the last one here. The last one we would type in 500. Then hit the second, the natural log ln button, and your E will pop up with an arrow in a parentheses. And type in -1.250. Like this. Let me see what I get here. I'm getting this, my answer, 143.252. And that does match the back of the book. So there we go. Okay. Hope you're doing okay on these. Let's take a look at 3 graphing problems, and we're finished. Okay, here we go. Alright, number 51. First of all, we can take our equation here and put +0. There's no constant terms. So my horizontal asymptote is a 0. Okay, pretty simple. Okay, and then next, take my exponent here and set it equal to 0. So x equals 0. So on my table of values, I'll have a 0 in the middle, so 2, 1, then 0, then -1, -2, okay? Now next, on your calculator, you want to hit y equals, and then type second, and then natural log, and your E will pop up. Okay, so you should have y subscript 1 equals E, arrow, parentheses, then type an x and close the parentheses, okay? Now if you type that in correctly, then hit second, and then graph, and your table should pop up, okay? And if you fill it in correctly, your table should look like this. Let me look at my notes here real quick. This is number what? 51. 2 would give you out 7.4. 1 would give you out 2.7. 0 gives you out a 1. 1 gives you out, -1 gives you out a 0.37. And -2 gives you out a 0.14, I believe. Kind of hard to read my handwriting, but I think it says 0.14. Okay, so let's go ahead and plot those points quickly here. Over 2, up 7.4, over 1, up 2.7, 0's at 1, -1.3, and here. So there it is. Good old exponential curve, okay? There we go. And there we go. Okay, students? Alright, number 53. Okay, first of all, there's no constant term. And students, 3 is not a constant term, okay? 3 is a multiplier times the base, okay? So my constant term is plus 0. So a horizontal asymptote at 0. Then take the exponent, set it equal to 0 and solve. Bring the 4 over and make it a negative 4. So now my x values will put negative 4 right in the middle. Okay, so negative 4 here, so we'll put a negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. Now over here, hit or type y equals, okay, and then type 3, then hit second in this button here, and your e will pop up. Then type in x plus 4, make sure you use a parentheses, and then close the parentheses. Then hit second, and then graph, and your table of values should pop up, okay? It should look like this. If I've done it correctly, I'm getting 22.2 here, 8.2 here, 3 here, 1.1 here, 0.41 here. So let's see, over 2, up 22, way up here somewhere, over, well, that's wrong, sorry guys, negative 2, up way over here, negative 3 would be 8.2, so 7, 8.2, negative 4 would be 3, negative 5 would be 1.1, negative 6 would be 0.41. So we can see the curve taking place here, okay? See it kind of coming down here a little bit. And there we go. Really pretty simple, not too bad, students, okay? All right, number 54 or 55. Okay, here we go. Now here we do have a horizontal asymptote right here, constant term of plus 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's our horizontal asymptote, okay? Now let's take our exponent, x minus 2, set it equal to 0 and solve. So that 2 right there will go right in the middle of my table of values. So 4, 3, 2 in the middle, 1, 0. And then in your calculator over here, hit y equals, so you have your y pop up, and then type in 2 for this 2 here, then hit second, this button here, natural log, and your e should pop up, and then type x minus 2 in parentheses, and then close the parentheses, then put plus 4. Okay, now if you've typed that in correctly, then hit second, and then graph, and your table of values should pop up, okay? And you should get this. Hopefully I've done mine correctly. 18.8, 9.4, 6, 4.7, 4.3. Okay, so here we go. Over 4. Way up here somewhere. Okay, over 3. Up 9. So 7, 8, 9.5. Over 2, up 6. Over 1, up 4.7. And then zeros, 4.3. So there it is. Okay. Not the best curve in the world, but hopefully you guys get the idea, okay? Getting closer and closer to the asymptote, but never crossing it, okay? Okay, students, I hope this homework help video has been a help to you guys. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call or email.